He's angry about mortgages. It's Angry Mortgage. He's swearing. He's cursing loud. He's old. He's opinionated. And he's been doing this so damn long. This program is about mortgages, and this is mortgage advice, but the advice may not apply to your situation. Contact licensed mortgage professionals for specific recommendations before you make decisions about mortgages. You may not agree with Ron, but if you don't, he thinks you're wrong. Oh, and did we say there is a lot of swearing?
A special edition of Angry Mortgage on the air. So special because I have with me today my special guest, Rob Campbell, the Rob Campbell Mortgage team. Now, if you look at, I think if on email or on some social media, you're the Rob Campbell, right?
Correct. The Rob Campbell on Twitter.
Yeah.
But Instagram, it's Guelph Mortgage Broker.
Guelph Mortgage Broker.
Guelph Mortgage
Way to
Broker.
go.
That's
okay,
right.
Yeah, because strangely enough, Rob lives in Saskatchewan. No, he's in Guelph. He's absolutely in Guelph. He's 100% in Guelph. What do you say? You were there for 20 years. Right?
I have been. Yeah, we moved to Guelph 2003. But my wife was born and raised in Guelph, and her father was a teacher in Guelph.
That is like Guelph lifers. Okay.
Well, you would.
Your wife.
She is. Yeah. I'm still not. I don't have that Guelph factor. If people watching know about the Guelph factor, if you were born in Guelph, you've got an in with the Guelph Mafia. I'm still considered an outsider.
Sorry, so there's a special thing that
allegedly, Ron, that if you're not from so when you go
let me guess, if you're a man, it's an extra deep circumcision is the Guelph identifier, right? So you got out from that.
Nobody's grabbing pants.
No.
Nobody's grabbing pants.
Right.
When you go to a party, they're not like, hold on.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're from here, are you? No. That does not happen.
Does
not happen.
All right, got you.
But there is a bit of a Guelph factor when you first become self-employed in the city and you're going to functions. Mm-hmm. No, I was actually born in Malton. Big ups, Malton, Ontario. And then I moved.
Oh, he's from Malton.
Well, yeah. And then the next follow-up.
Let's get away from him.
Yes. Then the next question's always, well, did you go to university here? And I go, I can't even spell PhD.
Yeah.
I did not go to university here. So.
Well, look, folks, Rob is literally a special guest because Rob is very, very well known in the mortgage industry, does tons of shows. You were like on the original podcast in history.
Thank you for bringing this up.
Yeah.
I was not going to bring this up, but thank you. CMH TV was a video show that we did I believe it was every week. Gord McCallum.
I was on it a couple times, right?
You were. I'm going to get to that. You're always fucking talking about yourself. Just hold on.
That's
Gord McCallum, Jackson Middleton, the Kilted Broker, Scott Dawson, and myself were doing Canadian Mortgage Hangout.tv. And we had a lot of people on that show. You were multiple times on that show, which I feel like.
But you also had big lender bosses on that show.
We didn't fuck around.
Yeah, you had big people on that show. Yeah.
Because we still to this day, big shout out to Scott Peck for what he does, but there's still no real, which I've always wanted to get back on the go. There's no real like news in the industry, which you're doing now, which is great.
No, I'm doing Angry fucking Mortgage.
Right,
okay?
right.
This is like taboo. You could never get a lender on this show to save your life, for the love of God.
Right.
Okay?
And I really would love to start that where I would go and interview lenders, big brokerage network people, which we did. Colin Dreyer, Gary Morris.
Yeah.
We had you multiple times. We had Dan Eisner.
You had lender bosses too, if I remember right. You had lender.
We did. We had
people?
Boris
Bozak.
Yeah. We had
the late Boris Bozak. He's not dead, but he's out of the business.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. So it was a great show, and it's great that you remember that. We had you on a couple times, which we're always grateful for.
It was a great show. I mean,
by the way, hold on.
What are we doing?
I have a special gift for you.
Special gift?
I noticed Rob McLister showed up with a coffee.
Yeah, he just had a Timmy's.
He had a Timmy's. And Peckford had his Bricks hat.
That's okay. He needs a hat.
So we got some special, I'm going to go over here. We got some special brew made just for you for the podcast. The Angry Mortgage Podcast, STFU ale here. I don't know if you want to.
Okay, look at this. Like, folks, it's a cold beer. Look at that. It's a cold beer. And it's shut the fuck up.
Shut the fuck up.
Shut the fuck up.
So when you have Christia Freeland or Tiff Macklem on the show.
Oh, and they've promised to come.
They've promised
not ever going to come. Okay.
When they come on the show, you can serve them up a cold glass of shut the fuck up. So anyway, as you were.
Wow. Well, better than nothing but see Butler logo and angry logo and shut the fuck up. Okay.
So there we go. I just had
now,
to throw that in. Go for
people might wonder about this. Like, does he ever really does he talk like that in real life, Ron Butler?
I'm here to tell all of you.
Because you know me like 10 years or something, right? A long time, right?
Yeah. This is true Ron Butler form.
Oh,
now, I have been in your office while you're talking to lenders, clients, obviously nothing private going on in those conversations for the regulators if you might be watching. Ron is not this way when he's conducting business. It is always classy, top shelf. As soon as the phone hangs up, you got what you got.
Yeah, it's true. And now talking about the phone, Rob has had many occasions where he's called the office or where we've called him. And what is different about our office is, and the way I operate is very old fashioned because I'm fucking old.
You
okay?
are. You
old.
Are. I'm here.
That many times, and that I'm old, so I run things in like an antique way about a lot of shit. And one of the things I do is I don't call anybody. Like, I don't call anyone.
So good.
Jessica, who helps put the podcast on, Jessica calls everyone. And so the Butler Mortgage thing comes up on people's phones. Butler Mortgage appears on your cell phone. And you think it's me. Because
yes.
I think it's me.
Yeah.
Right? People think it's me. It happens all the time.
You think it happens.
All the time. It's Ron. Oh, Ron's calling me. Hey, Ron.
Yep.
Jessica says, "Oh no, it's not me. It's." So Rob, every once in a while, I'm getting Ron on the phone. Ron wants to speak to you.
Yeah.
So then Rob quite intelligently says, "Does he think he's the president of the fucking United States and it's the White House operator calling?"
Yeah, like Barack Obama's calling me on his phone rings, Ron. But now you and I, we are on a cell relationship now.
Yeah,
but previous to that, you would see Butler Mortgage. You go, fuck, Ron's calling me. This has got to be super important.
Or not.
Yeah. It usually is. Pretty great conversation. And you're right. Hold on. Mr. Butler will be with you in just... And you're like, who even does that?
The fucking prime minister does that. When Justin wants to talk to you, a woman gets you on the phone and says, "This is the prime minister's office.
Please hold."
It might not be a woman. Dustin does everything 50-50. So it's always like men and women 50-50.
Yep.
So maybe it's a male operator or maybe it's a female operator.
Fair.
But when you get that call from Justin Trudeau, it's going to be a person who says, "Hello, Mr. Campbell. Is this Mr. Campbell?
Yeah.
This is the Prime Minister's office.
Yes.
And I will put you through now."
Yeah, and you go.
That's how it works. Okay.
And
now,
I know why you do it, because if someone were to call me, if I got a phone call and it was, "Please hold for the Prime Minister," you'd go, "Holy fuck, the Prime Minister." So I know why you do it, and I respect that, because it just levels up a little bit.
and that's the same in Washington. It's like the president never fucking calls you.
No.
Okay. It's always, "Hello, Mr. Campbell. This is the White House operator."
Yes.
And we put you through.
Please put up. We're going to put you on hold for 15 minutes while we wake up Joe Biden.
Yeah. Well, Joe's. I gotta stick with my peeps. Joe's old. Okay. Like Joe's old. I gotta stick with my peeps. He's old peep like me. He's
right.
older
He's
than me.
He's a little older than you.
But he's frail. Like I'm a little, I don't look frail, but I am sort of frail.
Okay.
When you're this fat and this old, your balance is off all the time, right? You get something goes a little wrong, your balance is off. So anyway, Rob is really well known in the mortgage industry, hosts a lot of events for people ask him to come and host events.
Yep.
There's a guy named Dustin Woodhouse who I promised Rob I would not ridicule on this podcast.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
See,
thank you.
I sort of half honor my word. Like I mentioned that there was potential for ridicule, but then I say, no, I shall not do it.
I like it.
And because Rob has done some shows with Dustin, and I think you're going to continue to do that, right?
I think there's plans for another event in January or February next year.
Yep.
It's actually shows, even though you most likely both hate each other equally as much, which is alleged. It shows the class that you just quasi-plugged that event on your own show. So thank you for that. Yes, next year.
The only people who go to the event are people who are forced to go that are part of Mortgage Architects. But anyway, that's fine.
Fuck, I was going to spit out beer all over this microphone. No, that is not true. That is not true. People will pay money to go to events, as we know. Listen, the mortgage industry is not lacking coaching or events to go to. And a lot of these events are attended by people outside of those networks.
Sure,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And Dustin is a prolific author of books that are incredibly similar to each other. So I think he's on Be a Worse Mortgage Broker or number 5 or something.
Yes.
He says, I promise not to ridicule Dustin.
Okay, good.
So I'm not
Thank
gonna
you.
do it.
We are going to move on.
We're going to move on.
We're
now.
going to move on.
Okay.
I will tell. I
got to tell you something, though.
Okay.
I got an extra special lender story. The lender told me an extra special story about Dustin, but I'm not
dear.
going to do it.
Good.
Not
Thank
going to
you.
do it.
Thank you. I will say this. As you, like people in this industry love you or fucking hate you.
Fucking hate
Yes,
me. They
yes.
hate me. Like you say my name.
That dirty bastard.
Yes,
that is the worst
it's
man
true.
who ever got in here.
It's
He's done
true.
a million wrong things.
It's true.
Yeah.
I will say this. Spending time around you, and I'm not just saying this because there's 500 cameras in this room right now. But spending time with Dustin, if you spend time with somebody long enough, you kind of understand how they tick a little bit better. And
Sure.
I will say that spending time with somebody like Dustin or like yourself, much to the people that fucking hate you, you spend enough time around somebody, you can kind of go, oh, okay, I got it now. I think I got it now. So that's my fair play to you.
Yeah,
on
you
Dustin.
do understand though how much pride I take in the number of people who hate me.
You do, but you do take pride in. I take pride in that as well. Not that
Thank
people
you.
hate you.
Thank you.
No. But at some.
You take pride as being a bridge between the haters and
Yeah,
and
maybe
yeah,
you can view it as that. Maybe because there is a very small group of people that would fit into the palm of one hand in this industry that I will definitely punch in the throat if they even try to talk to me. You or Dustin are not
Wow,
in that.
that is legitimate hatred. Wow.
Well, there are
that's good.
scumbags in every industry, and there are a handful of people in this business that I just can't stand, and they know.
Well, there's at least 6 handfuls for me. So
Right.
there you go.
Okay.
I got a broader scope of fuckery to deal with.
Yeah. Speaking about fuckery.
Yeah. Speaking of fuckery, so look, here's why I really, really want to have Rob on is that, I talked to a lot of brokerage owners. We've had some brokerage owners on the show. We've had people who sort of big mortgage industry folk who are over reporters and journalists. And that type of thing. So one of the reasons I really want to talk to Rob is that Rob is a mortgage broker. Rob, day in and day out, works with the public, finds new clients, figures out how to do a mortgage for them, walks them through all the trials and tribulations of doing a mortgage, and which most of the people I talk to don't do as much anymore. Okay, so that's a particular reason I wanted to have Rob on the show. So we're in July 2023, and we've gone through a tremendous volatility in rates and housing market and everything for the last 2 years. And it looks like we're probably in another phase again. So would it be fair to say that the second half of 2022 was ridiculously quiet?
Oh God, yeah. 2020, we started to see that. You're active on Twitter as I'm not as active, but we saw the peak of activity from a very wild bull run in the mortgage business.
Huge bull run.
I mean, fucking insane. And I'm quasi ADD lazy broker. Okay. So, and even I did really good. Then 2022, February, midway through February, I believe it, if you look at those numbers, it doesn't matter. Let's just call it February was the peak of the insanity.
Oh yeah.
And then it was kind of okay. We had some breathing room and we had, still stuff coming in, the phone's ringing. And then I sensed July rate increase and August was just full e-brake. Like somebody reached down, we were doing 140 and somebody just pulled the fucking e-brake. And there was nothing but pain for the rest of the year.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like
yeah.
if we fast forward now, the beginning of this year was maybe this maybe this isn't going to be that bad. Like maybe we're having some traction.
Yeah, fixed rates came down in
Right.
January, and when public grasped that in. So by the way, fixed came down a bit. Like fixed were all in the 5s and 6s in all through the second half of 2022. And as Rob said, it was just as quiet as, you know.
Oh, it was brutal.
It was as quiet as the prom night living room when the parents turned the lights on, and there was Becky and Rob, you know, and you know, what can I tell you?
Yeah.
And it was quiet.
It was
really
fucking quiet.
Really
Which,
quiet, yeah.
you know, at the beginning was like, oh, we got some breathing room. But then after a while, it was like, oh, fuck, we can't breathe because there's no oxygen in the room.
Yeah.
And so now this year we've seen growth and activity and pre-apps. And, you know, when we're down in that, if we're talking about insured rates, you know, we're talking to that 479, you know, bandwidth area.
Sorry, we're talking about
Yeah.
high ratio rates?
Yeah. Stop.
No,
Fuck
I-
off.
that-
Yeah. Stop.
Yeah.
Stop.
But much lower at Butler Mortgage.
Stop.
So much
I got
lower.
kids to feed.
So much lower at Butler Mortgage. So
But-
much lower rates.
But if you say
419 for a month. Okay.
oh, I might need to drink all these before I leave.
Yeah, it might.
But
You
so,
might.
you know, we have activity, we have pre-apps, we've got deals on the go.
People are buying houses.
People are buying houses. The bottom's in.
Not like 2021, but still.
No. But
Compared with the desert of mortgages.
yeah,
Okay.
compared with like the tumbleweed of
Yep.
2022, it was like, we might actually be able to afford to take our kids out for a dinner this month.
Disneyland is not completely
It's not crazy.
It's not impossible.
And then just a couple weeks ago, Tiff calls me and he goes, guess what?
He never calls me. I don't know why.
Well, he might be on the show. You can
Yeah,
serve him up some of this stuff.
He
called me and went, guess what?
Yeah.
Get ready.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
almost overnight, ghost town.
Because Tiff raised the Bank of Canada rate another quarter somewhat unexpectedly. He looks like there's a reasonable chance he's going to do it again.
Oh, my money's on again.
Yes, your money's on again.
My money's on again in July.
So, and fixed rates just soared. You know, fixed rates went up between 75 basis points and a full percent, and it's quiet again.
It's quiet again.
Really, really quiet. So you've noticed that too.
Oh yeah, and I talk to a lot of people in this industry, coast to coast, and everybody's going through that right now.
Yeah.
Everybody was seeing the same. Like, are you picking up? Yeah, we're picking up. Have you guys know? Yeah, we might have a good. And then immediately the hammer drops, and literally overnight, the market takes a step off. They take a step off the gas.
Yeah, and so what we're probably going to see is that's going to be the same quiet second half of 2023, which people are dreading. Real estate agents and mortgage people across Canada are dreading, because let's face it, it doesn't make a lot of economic sense to buy a house right now. Because, by the way, the prices jumped, right? I mean, prices. Now we're going to talk about Guelph in particular. Because, you're an expert on Guelph and lived there for your 10 years. You haven't qualified for your because you don't have.
I might get a key to the city.
You don't have the special circumcision. But
Yeah.
the bottom line is that you know your market, and the story. By the way, folks, for people in other locations, Guelph is a relatively small city. 150, call it, and that's grown a lot in the last
It has
10, 15 years.
Yep. Oh
Right?
yeah.
Maybe like 40% bigger in the last.
I don't know
short
that
period of
stat,
time,
but it's grown a lot.
It's grown a lot.
Yep.
And but it is like a long way from central Toronto. Like if you want to go drive down to watch a baseball game in Toronto, how long is that?
I don't even know because I've given up driving to the big city. When I come down to the big city, I go on the GO train. The GO train's about an hour and a half, an hour and 40.
Well, then let's assume it's an hour and 10 minute, an hour and 15 minutes, because the GO train goes fast at some points, right?
It took me an hour to get here.
It took you an hour to get
from my door
by the airport. So yeah, so it's let's call Guelph an hour and a quarter from an hour and 20 minutes from downtown Toronto. Is that fair?
I think you're being generous, but an hour and a half. Let's call it an hour.
Okay, call it an hour and a half. Okay. So it's traditionally been sort of a bit of a university town, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mhm.
yeah, that's right. So what's the university there again? That's University of Guelph.
It is University of Guelph. Kitchener-Waterloo has two universities in
Yeah.
Waterloo.
Yeah.
And then and Conestoga's main college in Kitchener.
Yeah.
Quasi Cambridge,
Yeah,
Kitchener.
yeah.
But Guelph's got the University of Guelph, tons of enrollment, lots of international students.
Yep.
You know, we thought that about Milton 25 years ago. Well, Milton's like kind of in the middle of nowhere, right?
Right.
And now look at Milton. Milton is a
Yeah.
gong show for growth. But the province, lot of people don't know this, is the province has mandated these cities to grow. It's not like, maybe if you get around it. No, the province is like, you need to grow.
Yeah, there's believe it or not, there's like an act called Places to Grow in Ontario.
That's
there's
right.
A provincial act in Ontario that says the places to grow, so you better fucking grow.
Right.
Okay?
And people in the city that go, our city's not what it used to be, which kind of, I'd be lying if I didn't say I was one of those, because I kind of feel like going to certain areas of Guelph, it's more big city than it is small town now.
Sure.
But the mayor and the council and no, it's the province. The province and the country is like, we got to bring in people because nobody's having sex anymore and having babies. So we got to bring in.
I don't know about the sex.
Okay, nobody's having babies.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, let's bring in all the peoples. 1 million people in a year coming to Canada. God only knows where the fuck they're living.
Mm-hmm.
And when they come, the province is like, well, we got to distribute these people. And so Guelph is a community that has to grow.
But Guelph is a great example of what happened to real estate in southwestern Ontario, because, well, people outside of Ontario think about, Toronto, it's a huge city, and it is.
It is.
And it is the head office town of Canada.
Yep.
Like, I would say 85% of the head offices in Canada are located in Toronto.
Right.
And that also means that 85% of the people who advise those big companies are in Toronto, the lawyers, the consultants, the accountants, all the rest of it. So there's a huge administrative class of people who make a ton of money.
Yep.
And need to live somewhere. They buy houses and on and on. So it kind of makes sense. Just like Manhattan is very expensive.
Yes. Yeah.
Downtown LA and Beverly Hills is obviously very, very expensive.
Yeah.
Okay. And parts of San Francisco are very expensive. Maybe not less now that the city's collapsing around them. But
I was going to say that about LA when you talked about LA, but yeah, for sure.
San Francisco worse, though.
San
Francisco worse.
It is, yeah.
And so, but here's the thing. Everybody associates Toronto. You can sort of put a logical basis on it being ridiculously expensive real estate, because Manhattan is ridiculously expensive
Sure it is,
real
yeah.
estate.
Yep.
Okay? But the difference being what happened in a town like Guelph. Because is it not, would you say it's true that between 2016, 2017, and the beginning of 2022, is it fair to say prices doubled?
It is fair to say that. Yeah, certainly from the late single digit 2000s. My kids were born in 2007, 2009. When we moved, so to go back to, we bought our first home in 2003.
Mm-hmm.
You did an episode or a TikTok or some fucking viral shit, where you said, back in the day when our parents or our grandparents were paying 18% on a mortgage, you could qualify for a home on 2 or 3 times income.
No, the average sale price of a home very much was 2.5 to 3 times income.
Great.
That was the average sale price of a house.
So in 2003, we bought our first home, a post-war story and a half, very cookie cutter home, especially in Guelph, but all over Canada, by the way.
Sure.
We bought it for $146,500. And on the way down here, because I knew we were going to be talking about affordability, I'm trying to figure out what I was making an hour as an apprentice, a first-year apprentice at a trade that I was in before I got into this business. And I think, that math works out. Let's say the house was 150. We were making
combined
40 to 50 grand.
Yeah.
So there's the number. Now, what
would that house sell for now?
So we paid $146,900 in 2003. Today, I mean, at the peak of insanity, it would have sold for $750,000. Yeah, $750,000. Now you're probably realistically $650,000 to $700,000, which is literally, Ron, they haven't, I drive by that old house because one of our kids was born there with a midwife. I still kind of drive by it every now and then. Yeah. They've done sweet fuck all to the house.
Nothing to that house.
Nothing. They've taken down the garage. I will say they've taken down the garage because it was already falling down when we lived there. But literally, and so this is the frustration with a lot of Canadians right now trying to afford to buy a home. To go back to your point, what happened in Guelph? It happened everywhere. What's the saying? Drive till you qualify.
Drive till you qualify.
100% that would happen. That's what happened. And if you talk to realtors on a real estate board that know their numbers, which I do in Guelph, they'll tell you that even though there's 600 realtors on the board, there's 1,200 or 1,500 realtors doing a deal every year in Guelph. What tells you is 50% of the transactions are from
outside
town.
of Guelph.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there was a time pre-pandemic and even during the pandemic, but slightly pre-pandemic where every offer I was working on a purchase or, my clients were selling, right? Always, by the way, always multiple bids. This isn't something new. Like when
that was like 2020, 2021.
Yeah. Like they're all out of town buyers.
All town buyers.
All out of town buyers. So the drive to you qualify, which feeds into why Guelph now is like 900 grand for if you put all those facts and figures into the hopper, you're at 850, 900 for a
Okay,
home.
so this is the point that this is the really key point. The really key point is what's wrong with Southwestern Ontario, which is a big region. This probably has, Ontario's got 15 million people in it now. So Southwestern Ontario's probably got like 13 of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, you mean Cochrane, Ontario is not booming?
Apparently in Thunder Bay, there's a few more people, but it's
not a lot.
Not ripping the
Right.
So what's amazing is if you drove an hour and a half from Manhattan, which has some of the most expensive homes in the world,
you'd be in the middle of nowhere.
well, you'd actually, if you go, there's a specific highway that if you went straight up and measured an hour and a half, you'd be in a town called Fishkill, New York.
Okay.
Where the average price of the home is about $389,409.
Isn't that insane?
But 90 minutes from Toronto, from the center of Toronto, from the Manhattan of Canada, it's $900,000. It's double or more, dude, like 220% more.
It's
so
insane.
When I talk all the time about how these prices are batshit crazy, okay, they are, because it's not so much if it was just the prime neighborhoods in downtown Toronto. It's far fuck out. Okay. It's like, what's going on in Guelph? What's going on in Cambridge? What if people from outside the province is sort of going down the 401 and, down Windsor. Christ, Windsor came back to life in the last 7 years. Its prices have doubled and maybe 150% higher.
Yep.
And this is what I talk about all the time, because going back to our story of when you first bought, basically 2.5, 3 times income. That's gone.
It is gone. The prices are gone forever. What I was thinking about on the drive down here was the competitiveness has never really changed. Now, granted, back then in 2003, we didn't have 20, 30, 40 offers on offer night. But
there was no offer night.
Right.
20 years ago.
You're
It did
right.
not exist.
You're right.
Okay.
But I do remember a bit of, even in Guelph in 2003, after the 2000s when we were looking, it was always kind of a problem to find a place.
Yeah.
So this is systemic in the Canadian culture. Never mind JT with his 2015 promise of we're going to make houses affordable.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it goes past that. It goes way beyond that. So there's
not in Brandon, Manitoba. They're okay in Brandon, Manitoba.
Sure.
Okay.
But the value thing is very true. The evolution of insanity. Why would Windsor blow up with growth? Well, if you're working as a manager at a Staples in Mississauga, you're probably not making much more than a manager at Staples in Windsor, Ontario.
Good point.
But now you can buy a home.
But maybe not now.
But maybe not now.
Maybe not now. But
2017.
Maybe you could.
Yeah, you'd go,
All right, so
let's get the hell
point.
out.
That's the key point. So you are a person who came not from a banking background. Like I did not come from a banking background. And what the people who I sometimes talk to people who've been in finance forever. Like they started when they were a kid in a bank and
right. Teller.
All the way through.
Yep.
Okay. They've always been a banking background. And I talked to people who had a real estate background. So they, steeped into real estate. And so, but when you're somebody who comes from completely outside of it, particularly you mentioned you're a trade in a factory.
Yep.
Okay.
Blue collar guy. Yep.
So is there any hope for a blue collar, for just what you said, the manager of the Staples whose spouse is PSW or something?
Yep.
Where can they buy other than nowhere, other than move out of the province?
Yeah, like it's very, very difficult. It is beyond difficult now. I think we're at a point now where an applicant, good, honest, hardworking people who are going through the trenches every day. You don't want to be answering questions at the Staples about what printer paper is fucking better than the other, right? You don't give a fuck. You're just trying to stay alive, right?
Yep.
But you're doing the best you can. Those applicants, it's really hard to tell somebody who's making a household income of $100,000, you got nothing. Like you're gonna need help.
You got nothing in Guelph.
You got nothing in the city you're living in,
and nothing. You maybe need to drive to. You maybe need to move to another province,
and that's what we're seeing. That you mentioned Cambridge, like for people outside of the GTA, Cambridge, Brantford, they're slightly more affordable, but it's not like a landslide.
Not really. Just like I was talking to a guy who's in real estate business a couple of weeks ago, and I actually made a joke. I said, I've been to Paris, France.
Yeah.
And I've been to Paris, Ontario.
Yeah.
And they are no fucking relationship to each other in any way.
Oh, by the way.
In any fucking way are they any relationship to each other. But I said, I think that the houses in Paris, Ontario, which makes like Guelph is like fucking Chicago compared with Paris, Ontario. Okay. And I think the houses in Paris, Ontario are $800,000.
Yeah. So
and wait, it gets worse. It gets worse.
Yeah.
So the realtor says to me, I have a listing in Paris, Ontario right now for $1.25 million or $1,025,000. So I said, proves my fucking point. Like, it's crazy. $1 million. And I said, well, is this the biggest house in Paris, Ontario? No, it's just an average single detached home. It's a large home. It's 3,000 square feet, but $1 million fucking dollars in Paris, Ontario. We are fucked. Okay,
we are. Yeah. Shout out to Paris, Ontario. By the way, I got to give a shout out to Reeve & Company, my good buddy Steve in Waterloo, but he's from Paris, Ontario. Now that we're shitting on Paris, listen.
No. Paris, Ontario. I'm not shitting on them. It's probably a fine town. I've been there.
Yeah.
Definitely not Paris, France.
No, I agree.
But like, there's no sense to. I think your buddy who does the specialty ad work would agree. There's no sense.
There's no sense in it. So what? But
what does it do to the humans who want to buy a home, who are in their late 20s, 30s?
It's deflating. You when we were going to buy our first place, we used a mortgage broker.
Mm-hmm.
And same scenario as today. I'll explain the scenario, but the only difference now is that the cost is so exponentially greater. When we bought our first home, we had a gifted down payment from family.
Mm-hmm.
We both had fairly,
but not $200,000.
No.
Okay, yeah.
Ron, ready?
Yep.
$10,000.
There we go.
Okay.
Yep.
We both had like entry level. My wife, God love her, she had a administrative assistant job at a local Guelph place. Yep. And I was a first year apprentice, made the offer on the home, not even done my probation as a first year apprentice. Now, if I called me today and said I'd go, you're fucking crazy. At least wait until you're done your apprentice, like your probation.
Right.
Yeah, it's not like you came from a place and you're starting probation at another place. It's like you're brand new. But we did it, and we felt like we were up to here. The difference is it was 104. It was 2 3/4 to 3 times income. Now we're taking.
So the interest rate was higher, but it wasn't necessarily impactful. You managed it.
We managed it. I think actually Scotiabank was our first mortgage, and I think it was 5 3/4 fixed.
Sure.
So not unlike the cost today.
Yep. Not unlike the cost today.
Only difference is the money. It was so exponentially higher. But back to Paris, Ontario, you see online.
Not Paris, France.
No, not Paris, France.
No.
You see online on TikTok and on Instagram of these sales centers opening up in Grimsby, Brantford, Paris, Ontario.
For listeners outside of
the
far
GTA.
Away. Far away from where the Blue Jays play baseball.
That's right. Yeah. So about an hour and a half, no matter which way you spray it.
Yeah.
The show, they're probably only releasing 200 units. The showrooms are fucking jammed.
Isn't there there's one video I watched, there was like a lineup of cars to get into the parking lot of one of those places?
Like John F. Kennedy just got shot.
Yeah.
Like jammed with people waiting to get
By the way, for everybody who's under 30, that was a thing. Okay. Because we just got like everybody who's 29 years and under just said,
who's that?
John.
Yeah. But it's
did that guy who Joe Rogan wants to promote? Did he get shot? Did he get shot?
No. That's
a different
the son of the brother. Yeah, we got some history to do.
The brother got shot too.
Yes.
So yeah, all bad.
Inside job, maybe, but allegedly. But fuck, I totally lost my train of thought. So here we have a housing minister in Canada.
Yeah, we do.
Hussein.
Yeah.
Okay. Just resign.
Just resign? You failed? You got to quit? Okay.
Yeah, just resign.
All right.
I think the best thing now is to enable Canadians, whether you're born or PR here, it doesn't matter. Give us some hope in at least. I'm tired of the narrative of we got to build up. Let me tell you something. From a guy who's owned a condo, who's lived in a stacked townhome condo, an apartment rental, a townhome, and a detached, I'll pay fucking double for the detached. You know why? Because Ron's living above me, stomping his feet, yelling at his cat, and the neighbors are fucking smoking weed on the balcony next. Like, I want my space. And a lot of Canadians want their space.
A lot of Canadians want their space.
They don't want to live in a box. They don't.
They don't want to live in the dog crate in the sky.
They don't. That's great if you've got mobility issues and you love this, you fucking love the city.
Or if you're 26 years old and you're living right downtown and the only thing you do in your 485-foot dog crate is play video games, sleep, and fuck. That's it.
Right.
Okay.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Maybe not even in that order, but for the average,
do it in the proper order.
Yeah. But the average Canadian, North American, they don't want to be that close to other people. They want their own postage stamp.
Now, Olivia Chow would probably tell you you're wrong. That people love density and everybody wants to live in a close community
and drink alcohol in parks
to each other. So, by the way, Olivia Chow is the new mayor of Toronto.
Right.
So, I'm not mad at Olivia Chow, but what I have to say is that there's a big cadre of Canadians. By the way, very interesting. A lot of new Canadians feel exactly the way you do.
Of course, because they're coming from places where they live in fucking boxes in the sky.
Or they come in places where they live in sort of hovels. Okay. They live if you're let's face it, if you're somebody who's come here from Nigeria, or you're somebody who's come here from
Syria,
rural India.
Okay. Yeah.
You have a definitive concept of what you want.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
A home is important to you. It's very, very important to you.
It's even more important for your family and your children. Not so much you. It's all about your family.
100%.
Yes.
And by the way, those people have children. Okay. So
yes, they do
have children. So yeah, it's like we're literally betraying their dream of coming to Canada by making. Now, again, we get a lot of people, we get a lot of comments. There's always comments on particularly on TikTok. There's a lot of comments about, well, if they just would go to Lethbridge, and by the way, all the bad thing I said about Lethbridge, which wasn't bad. I said I liked it in Lethbridge, but at one point in time, the houses were very inexpensive there. Love Lethbridge, but everybody's not going to go to Lethbridge. Everybody's not going to go to Brandon, Manitoba. Everybody's not going to go to Saskatoon. Everybody's not going to 100 Mile House in BC. Okay. It's not fucking feasible.
There are a handful that will, because they're going to make it anywhere, and they're just happy to be here. As a product of two immigrants myself, I'm tired of the narrative of people saying you must be against immigration.
Oh no, we're both pro-immigration.
We're very pro-immigration. I'm a product of it.
Yeah.
Hey, guess what? Newsflash: every fucking Canadian is a product of immigration, unless you're First Nation.
No, not First Nations. The First Nations ancestors walked across the Bering Land ice bridge about somewhere between 26,000 and 14,000 years ago.
Okay.
And no, they had it a long time before we showed up.
Yeah, okay? Sure.
But nobody just sprung out of the ground and evolved in North America and South America. That never happened. Okay.
Sure. Okay.
Everyone in these two continents is an immigrant.
Right. Some with seniority.
Big time.
But the point is, can we not maybe just stop the growth until we figure this shit out?
No. Look. We need these people so badly for dozens of reasons I've enunciated before, but why are we betraying them and betraying everybody who has a family income below 200 grand?
That's right.
Why are we betraying those people?
Right.
Why are we, all these folks who come in, and nobody's more betrayed than these international students who are coming here now.
Oh my God, yeah.
I mean, they're living like 14 to
in a room.
Unbelievable shit we're doing. And the truth is, we shouldn't do it. We should build. We should build. We should price accordingly. We should take action. Here's the thing. We keep hearing your point about the federal housing minister. They say a lot of shit.
Oh, lots.
There's a lot of talk.
Oh, yeah.
And there's talk from provincial. Like Doug Ford says he's going to cut all the red tape. Doug Ford says he's going to do all this stuff. And I don't mind Doug Ford. I'm not political. But what the fuck's happened yet? Okay, like, I can hear Ford now. Well, just wait, Ron. It takes us folks a little while to get around to this stuff. Okay, but like, Jesus Christ, let's get going.
Right.
Okay, let's get going.
Right.
Okay, it's a crisis, as I talked about on Twitter last week, or maybe starting this week. We have less housing starts now.
Of course.
Lot less.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Lot less than 2021. Lot less than 2022. This is fucking serious.
Yes.
Okay. So, but that's your perspective as somebody with boots on the ground, is that people come to you, or they just don't come to you because they know they can't do it.
I mean, they try. It's always such a letdown because I hate being the bearer of bad news. So it's such a letdown when you've got people who, have been trying to save, want to buy a home, want to start that journey. And, you go, you gotta have a cosigner? No. A gift from parents? No.
Big one. Big parental gift. Yeah.
Yeah. In Guelph, it's big, but maybe it doesn't even have to be that big. Just something to help them out, right? In Toronto, you are typically thinking through a GTA lens, and that's fine because I've had those as well where I'm like, geez, how much are you getting from your parents? Do they need a surrogate son?
$400,000.
Holy shit. Right. It takes a little bit, but then again, we talk about a generation before us, like my parents' generation, who have been banking on a retirement income of 20 or 30 grand a year. I mean, we've had applicants who have shitloads of assets tied up. They can't cash that.
No,
they can't cash that. Their OAS is going to evaporate the next year because of this taxable income.
Speaking of your parents, I'm guessing they have a paid for house.
I cannot comment on that.
Okay, I'll leave it alone.
Yeah. All I'm saying is we have a generation even before us that have been kind of taught, okay, well, I'm making 50 a year. I can survive on 20 or 25.
Because my house is paid for.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, guess what?
Not so much.
That's
not happening.
It's not happening. And this is why we're seeing a resurgence of the talk about reverse mortgages or other stuff in the market, because people, not just the first-time buyers, home owners in general are feeling this pain, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, I'm 70. I want to help my 40-year-old child move up. They want to sell and they want to move up. But now the qualifying rate's 8%.
Yeah, if you find a good 1-year rate, if you prefer 1 year, you prefer 2 year, those rates are all in the 6s, and that creates a rate to qualify that's in the 8s. And folks, with the $900,000 average price of a house in Guelph, I guess there's a technical term for that. I guess you're fucked.
You're fucked.
You're fucked.
You're fucked. So this is to your point about the housing crisis. I'm tired of our politicians, and this isn't a shit on the Liberal Party. It's a shit on all of the parties. I'm tired
because it's multidimensional. It's
multi-year.
Right down. It's provincial. It's federal. It's municipal. It's everybody.
Yeah. I'm tired of the ribbon cutting where we're like, we built 4 doors. Look at the progress we're making.
We are going to provide in the city of Kitchener-Waterloo 249 units. What the fuck?
They're gone. They're gone.
It's ridiculous.
Gone.
Yeah.
So it's a housing crisis, especially for not just new people to Canada or people looking to buy their first place, even home owners. The rate environment that we're in, trying to tap into equity, whether that's for speedboats and face tattoos or for helping a kid.
Face tattoo?
I mean, that's a joke I always make about refinancing.
We jumped refinancing face tattoos. That was a big jump.
Don't pop up on Instagram with a face tattoo when we've got 20 grand out.
Please don't do it.
It's a very, very big problem, and unfortunately, I just don't see how, unless CMHC is working on some sort of
answer's no.
You saw my tweet the other day about refinance plus improvements to build additional suites in your home. Can't
tell you how big a no that is. Yeah, that's a no.
We're fucked.
That's a no.
Yeah, we're fucked.
Well. there's a theory that, because this is what we got to remember, the United States went through this. The United States in 2007, 8, everything went to rat shit in the mortgage world. There was many reasons for it. Mostly it's because they built products that were totally insane. They built a product that says a 525 FICO score can write a letter in his own handwriting and say, I make this much money. Yeah. And they gave him a mortgage. Yep. Bullshit, folks.
Not just that, the payment in the first year or two would go from virtually nil.
Yeah. At the end of 3 years, you had to come up with $1 jillion.
And it turns out you weren't an astronaut and you couldn't afford it.
It was absolutely crazy. It was a failure of the whole financial system.
Right.
There's so many culprits, all of whom had no penalty at all.
0 time in jail.
Not just that, but no penalty.
Yeah.
Like if I was the CEO of Merrill Lynch and I got paid a bonus of $40 million.
Million with an M.
With an M.
Yeah.
Of $40 million in 2006.
Sure.
And then by 2008, I'm having to completely restate the books of the bank and saying, well, we lost just a shit ton. So what the fuck? It was all based on bad numbers, bad products, bad everything. Couldn't you at least give your fucking bonus back? Couldn't there be no, nobody lost a goddamn penny. Nobody went to jail.
The homeowners did. That was it.
Homeowners were destroyed. I think I read a number that there were well over 1.5 million people who just lost their homes. Yeah. 1.5 million families lost their homes.
I remember taking my broker's course in 2009, and I was talking to a broker who was teaching that course, and he went to Detroit looking for investment properties to buy at that time, and he met up with somebody who owned multiple properties in Detroit, and he was letting them be rented, not even rented out, Ron. He was letting homeless people stay in his rental properties because when he had tenants in his home, the tenants would strip the home of everything, copper.
But the homeless people didn't want to hurt the house. Yeah, I got you.
It was cheaper. It was a less of a loss to have homeless people look after his properties than try to rent them.
Listen, I got calls in the same time frame in 2009. I got calls from people in Ontario and all over Canada who said, we want to go down to Detroit and buy. You can buy houses just for the property tax.
Yes.
You buy a house for $8,000.
Yep.
Now it turns out the house actually was not even worth $8,000 because I told him at the time. I said, you can go ahead and do that. He said, yeah, then I need to get a mortgage to do some repairs. I said, no one's giving you a mortgage. And sure enough, I discovered in that particular case, because I kept a note of it, that about 3 years later, they bulldozed all the blocks in that area down and turned it into a farm. I'm not bullshitting you. They turned it into a farm.
A farm.
Because the population of Detroit was never coming back.
Yeah.
Never.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
No, don't get me wrong. The whole surrounding area in Michigan there, if you go to the suburbs around Detroit, it's busy, it's thriving, it's still an important part of the automobile industry in the United States, and we're still building cars, and that it's real. But Detroit itself,
it's not what it used to
be. They bulldozed the motherfucker. Right. They were blocks and blocks and blocks. We're just going to put in a vegetable patch here.
It's a vegetable patch.
Now, that's not, we're not even slightly suggesting that's going to happen in Canada.
No.
But what we are saying is, I think what we're saying together is that it's fundamentally wrong that we have a group of people who are hardworking Canadians, people who are just not making $225,000 a year of family income, but hardworking Canadians who are making $120,000 a year combined family income, who have no hope of buying a home unless they get a substantial gift from family or they get a cosigner.
Yeah.
And that is absolutely wrong.
Because newsflash, wages have not increased to follow the market. Like
a guy in response to a TikTok I put up, a guy said, put it right. Yeah, I was alive then. I was working then. I was looking to buy a house then. Minimum wage was $5 an hour. It's 16 now. That's 25 friggin' years ago.
That's right.
The price of houses is 10 times higher.
That's right.
Okay. That's a fucked up relationship. Okay.
That's right.
So I'm not saying, minimum wage people buy homes, but minimum wage is the base where the rest of the wage index comes from. right? Like if you work in a factory,
Right.
you know that you need to be making about double the minimum wage, right?
Right.
I mean, that's, or maybe a little more,
Right.
but even $30 an hour is not going to work.
No.
Okay. Not when houses are these prices.
No.
Not when a house in Guelph is $900,000. Okay.
No. And, people are a little more reluctant to try to to step down the ladder, to just start, which is something that I have a conversation with people about. Just get your toes wet, right? Like, you don't want to live in a box in the sky, but God, it's a start. Even a townhome, it's a start, because
but even the townhome's tough, because I guess the townhome's $650, right?
sure, but maybe you're lucky and you get a freehold townhome with no condo fees.
Yeah,
it's a start.
because the condo fees will kill it. If you're making $110,000 a year, the condo fees will kill that townhouse.
Yeah. It's tough, man. It's tough, and it doesn't appear that CMHC is going to be changing anything anytime soon.
Does not.
It doesn't appear that OSFI is going to be changing anything.
No, they're going to
soon.
make it tougher.
That's correct.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem that houses are going to be coming down in value anytime soon, because for everybody that's waiting for the bomb to fall and for the world to blow up for home values, as we were shitting on before, already, we're not making, the stats are out there. You can Google this shit. It's out online. We're behind the curve on the stats, or for the builds, the starts.
No, we're way behind on the starts. We have a huge problem that government has decided that they want to be pigs with their nose at the trough. And of every brand new home, doesn't matter whether it's a condo or a townhouse or whatever, every new home being built in Ontario today, government takes 31% of the sale price.
You're 100% correct on that.
So
whether it's development costs, whether it's taxes on the wages,
layered it in.
It's actually the biggest profit taker from a new
Absolutely. Door. Absolutely. The builder might make 10%, might make 12%, maybe less. And the land cost is batshit crazy.
The land cost is crazy.
So we've got this combination of disaster. And let's face it, if all levels of government are taking 31% of the sale price of a brand new home goes to them, well, then I think they're complicit. It's just logic dictates. Okay. Now, we all suggest some fixes, and we have some ideas, but here's what we really know, because we've seen it. Government will talk about it, but they will do nothing about it, because that's been the last 8-year experience.
Yeah. We're at a point now where there's a missing middle, the missing middle class. I also like to talk about the missing middle voting. We're in a country now where we've got, you've got an option over here. You've got two options way on the other side. Some would argue that they're actually neck and neck over there.
Yep.
And this is why you've got 40% of the votership in Canada not even going to the polls, because there's a missing middle of that political spectrum.
You're right.
So you can vote for somebody who says, we're going to do all this stuff, but truthfully, Pierre, nothing's going to happen anytime soon. And then you got the other guys who are ribbon cutting for 4 doors being built in a city of 800,000 people.
Yep.
It's all smoke and mirrors. Where's the party in the middle that goes, okay?
It's tough to become motivated to vote when you think it's a waste of time. That's a tough one.
And that's sad, Ron, because
really
we're in a country where you can go, doesn't matter your color, your creed, your class type, the language you speak, it doesn't matter. If you have the right to vote in this country, you go out and vote. Other countries, if you're a woman, if you're a certain class type, you're not voting. It's not happening.
We got to remember, democracy is thin on the ground on planet Earth. Okay, it is.
You're right.
It is more not than it is.
You're right.
But you know what?
But it's sad when voting comes around. You go, what am I doing?
Because they're all lying. They're all lying. It's not happening. We're not getting any kind of result. Although eventually, the government that's in power will lose, because everybody's just willing to take a chance. You failed for too long. I don't even like this prick, and I got to vote for them.
Right.
Because I
got to do something.
I got to try something.
I got to try something. Yeah.
So that's probably a great place to end, although it's a fucking tragedy. But here's what happens when you're in our business. Every day you see situations where people are deserving of getting a mortgage. Like, let's face it, there's not, $120,000 income is two people making $60,000 a year. Okay. And that's about where it is.
Yes.
That's the job today. There's lots of people making 45. There's lots of people making 48.
Yep.
There's a few people making 70, but however you want to average that out, that 120 grand at about 4.5 times, maybe 4.5 times income, you can buy something that's like, 600 or so. But maybe you need a big down payment for that.
That's
okay.
right.
You even want on a insured mortgage or low down payment mortgage, you still need, what do we need there? We need about $25,000, $30,000 cash.
Yep.
Right. Because it's not 5% anymore. You're over 500,000.
Right.
So you need real money, and then you need closing costs. And then you need to be able to, if you've got a condo fee, you've got a condo fee, you got property taxes. And at a certain point, you may not qualify.
You're tapped out. And I jokingly say to people, let's not forget, you got to pay the lawyer, you got to pay all these closing costs. Don't forget the barbecue, the lawnmower, the drapes, the washing machine.
So
it's a knock-on effect. There was a time, Ron, where $60,000 a year salary was a big fucking salary to see on an application.
It was, yeah. It was.
It was.
Now,
to your point, that's sad. Like 120 in a household should be a fantastic household income. It's so hard to stretch those numbers. And the 4.5 number for qualifying, I usually lean on the side of 4 versus 4.5.
Yeah, you're right.
You're right.
Because there's going to be somebody's going to have a car payment somewhere.
Car payment. Don't go out and buy the Ford F-150 Raptor, okay, people? Literally don't. I think we're moving into an age, I've been saying this for years as we wrap up. Thank you so much for having me on the show, by the way.
My pleasure.
I absolutely love this, and
pleasure.
It's an honor to come down here. What I tell everybody is this. We have moved into the household ownership like our grandparents. You scrounge and save everything you possibly can to pay your debts. You're going to live in the home for 20 to 30 years because you cannot move. You can't move up that ladder.
Yeah.
I think we've gone from immigrant grandparents moving here with $20 in their pocket, taking seconds, taking vendor takebacks, doing what they had
Everything
to do.
you could do.
Everything they had to do. Working 2 jobs, delivering the paper, sewing, repairing clothes at night, right?
Sure.
Then we moved into an era where it was like, fucking 1.89%. Let's refi, right? Mm-hmm. Now we're back in an era where if you're lucky enough to qualify and you're lucky enough to find a home, you're going to have to beg, steal, and borrow to stay in that home and really fight to pay down your mortgage. Because remember, folks, we just came out of 1.89, 1.59% mortgages. Your mortgage payment was really going towards principal. We're now in a 3-to-1 ratio. If you're getting the keys today, you're paying 3 to 4 of that parts of that payment are going to interest right off the jump.
Yep.
Only one part of that versus the 3 or 4 is going to principal. It is a long road ahead if you're getting a brand new mortgage today.
So you're right. In closing, after sort of this 40 minutes discussion of how everything is bad, let's just really emphasize that because what Rob said is really, really important. You got to start thinking about becoming, folks, young people in their 30s. You got to start maybe being a little more politically active. You're going to have to pay attention. You're going to have to want to see what you can do because, we need radical change, like radical change. You better, if a politician tells you that they think they can do something or she can do something, let's count for it. Tax. Tell me something radical. Tell me something that does not involve you taxing me more. Show me a way to get that 31% bite out of every brand new home in Ontario down to 10. Show me that. Less tax, less fees, less costs. I want, and don't tell me it's all coming from the developer. Oh, no, that 31% is just coming from the builder. That's just his profit. Fuck you, not his profit, okay? That is directly passed on to the consumer every single time. You're liars. You are liars if you say it's the developer paying it. They're not. And that's got to come down. That's got to come way down.
It does. And, I would love to be able to see politicians have plans instead of slinging mud. And that's for all parties. We don't need people in the House of Commons saying that, when they get a challenging question, why are housing starts so low? Well, Mr. Speaker, I would just like to say that the party before us, stop with the bullshit. Let's have a discussion and a plan. Sit down like they used to. Mm-hmm. Like politicians who hated each other, they would at least sit down for the greater good of the country and go, How do we fix this fucking problem? Because we got to fix this problem.
So the Rob Campbell Mortgage Team out of Guelph. You can find him on Twitter. You can find him on Instagram. You can find him on Google. The Rob Campbell. He is there. And this is Angry Mortgage right now.
Thanks, Rob.
Thanks a lot, Rob. Appreciate you having me. I appreciate having me.
Thank you.
If you like the pod, well, don't just sit there. Go to YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and all the other ones and like the pod. And don't forget to subscribe so we can keep being angry at mortgages and swearing about mortgages. Angry Mortgage could use your support.